ছোট পাখি সর্বনাশ হয়ে গেছে পৃথিবীর পরে আর তোমার আমার ভালোবাসার কেউ নেই কিছু নেই ও পাখি ভাঙচুর হয়ে গেছে শিশুদের খেলনা ডাক বাক্সের ঢাকনা আমাদের দোলনা রাস্তার ল্যাম্পপোস্টে আলো নেই কিছু নেই Valerie Solanas and Marilyn Monroe, and a kind of a tribute to, she says, and to their desperation. This piece that she composed, I mean, Valerie's in this manifesto that she'd written, the manifesto of the Scum manifesto that she'd written, which became a main feminist manifesto. So Valerie, who had gone to, I don't know if you know about Valerie Solanas, but she had attempted to murder Andy Warhol. So Valerie had written that, we need to get rid of all the men and then the world will be a better place. And long before her, Begum Ruqayya had written that, the Sultana's dream, in which she said she was hoping for a world where men would be put sort of, behind the bars almost, caged men, and women would be free. Now, that's really not the kind of position that I hold at all. And I fear that there is a tendency towards that kind of a sentiment these days. I see it. And I fear this sentiment. And as somebody who's much, much older than all of you, I kind of caution you against that sentiment. It's not a great idea to cage anybody. So, now, I had asked, no, that's not. This.
Second one.
No. I want the internet.
Yeah, the second one. The tab that's already open. Yeah.
So, I had asked before coming that I have a very old Mac and do you have the right adapters, and your film school couldn't provide me with the right adapters. So.
Centers, whiteness, privilege, margin. Why not our voices? Centers, margins and centers, whiteness. Why not our voices? Whose voice am I not listening to? Margins, centers. Whose voice? Mine. Whose voice? Mine. Does sound. Whose voice? Mine.
I had a little door here before lunch, and I said to Simon, he said he's been here all day, working on what he's supposed to be doing, or I'm supposed to be doing, but I got through to John because I usually do.
There is a voice that I am trying to ignore a lot of the time. It is the not terribly insistent, yet nevertheless constantly present voice of my mother. In her late 80s, alone for the first time in her life, gradually sliding into dementia, losing language, technical ability, self-confidence, moving more and more into an internal world that she is unable to share with the outside. It is a voice which I am ignoring because it is difficult for me, emotionally difficult, because I don't need all these unresolved emotions. I need to be able to think. Difficult for me time-wise, because I need time to be able to devote my attention to the work that my mother has never quite understood. I need space to make works of sound art that my mother has never heard, although she features in many of them as a reader and a speaker. I have tried to start this paper on Why Not Our Voices in so many ways, talking about my own sound journey, talking about the emergence of sound art, and talking about how sound art needs to be a place where there is a pluriverse of voices to be heard, rather than the voices that are heard. I want to talk about how we need a sonic activism to make our culture pluralistic, and how we need to educate ourselves to listen better and listen anew. My mother is not an artist or an academic. She does not know that a sound arts canon exists.
It's among sound artists to go and look for this, kind of, pristine place of listening, which is where you can listen to nature in with attention, and somehow devoid of voices, of the presence of people. And she's questioning that, and she's saying that in a lot of sound art, this seems to be the practice. And we were also talking about a lot of sound art is also about, the whole thing of technical acrobatics, so what kind of things that you can do with the machines. But then, what about the people? What about feelings? What about empathy? What about actually a world that contains not just nature, but a nature of which humans and others are also a part? What about noise, and why not include them? So, therefore, this thing of listening to the noisy din of nature really, does listening to the noisy din of nature really tell us more about the world than listening to the noisy din of people? Because she gives an example of Michel Serres, and in his book, The Five Senses, A Philosophy of Mingled Bodies, he's saying that, he is in Greece, he is in this place, where in this place he's expecting to listen to kind of time and in silence, listen in silence. And there's a whole busload of tourists who come, and they spoil it for him. And she says, but what have they done? Like, why is what they're saying, their voices, why is that not important? Why do we need to listen to the space in some kind of, as an almost like, because you see recordings are, if you say that recordings are actually disembodied sounds, because they've been taken out of the body and they're preserved as objects, as files, as sound objects. If you say that they don't have a body, or the body is provided by an archive, or a body is provided by a record, a vinyl, a cassette, a tape case, if that is the body, then these are also disembodied sounds, because the sound, the silence of that space is actually contained within a very noisy space. If we need to filter out just the silence in order to listen to it, then we are doing something, we are divorcing that sound or that silence from its life force. So then she's saying that we really need to think a little bit about how we can, in a post kind of, so there was this whole emphasis on sound for several years because, because of the emphasis on the image. So in order to answer that, there was a kind of emphasis on the importance of sound. But I think we are, and Kathy says this, and I kind of agree with her, she says that we are in this post sound art era, and we need to think about not this sort of isolated sound, but see sound in the context of other things as well. So, and there I think, is she thinking this also as a woman? Is this coming to her, are these ideas coming to her because she's a woman? Because, do we think differently as women? I mean, I don't really know, but I do know that, some of the songs that I write, I don't think that, a man would have to be very different to be able to write this song. So, say a song like, Daya karo, ei kharaye amar somosto deho, pure pure chai, daya karo, ei shohor shorir, shomoye shokoli pure pure chai, Daya karo yogo brishti. So have compassion, have mercy, and come rain, come and fall on this parched body, because the city, this time, everything is parched now, and the city, shahur shomoy shorid, everything, my body, everything is parched. So come, fall as rain on me. And then the lines. Daya karo ei ghorer bhitare andho bandho deho mon tai daya karo ei stabdho kumot ruddho kapat ghorer bhitare khele na batash daya karo ei pachil deyal. So I'm enclosed within walls, and the walls, rusty, a moldy painting of Picasso hangs from the wall, and these walls which entrap me break these walls and set me free, have mercy. And then the last verse goes, have mercy, have compassion, because I'm very tired of these games of loving and living, and I really want to be free. I just want to stand alone just once. I want to do that. So, Daya karo ami bhalo 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 basha bashi khelate klanto daya karo ei bhalo thaka basha bhalo kora bhalo bhalo to lage na daya koro ami ekbar shudhu ekbar ami baire darabo ekbar shudhu ekbar ami ekbar ami baire darabo ekbar. I'm not saying that only a woman will sing this song, but I know that it comes to me as a woman. It comes to me for the life that I have lived, and I've lived a life as a woman. So it comes from all of these experiences of loving and living and leaving that I have done, that I come to this song, I arrive at this song. So we arrive at our voicings through our experiences. So when I find my voice in this particular way, it's because of the way that I've listened to the world and listened to my time and listened to everybody around me, and I've tried to listen. It's only through that that I arrive at this voicing, at finding my voice in this way. But we, as somebody who also goes out and listens in a particular way, works it through listening, collecting sounds, which I've been doing for a long time now. Do I listen to my space, to my world differently? Is there any particular reason, anything that really draws me in a certain way? So, I'll tell you a story. But before that, I want to say, no, I'll tell you the story first. Okay, where is my thing?
The first.
Huh?
First pause this. First pause this.
Yeah.
Which one? Kathy is what is happening to Kathy. She's still playing. But let's just go. Leave it.
And the mute is... Mute भी unmute कर देना.
No, I first want to... Okay. So I want to talk about this woman. And you see her. This is an image from 1932. It was taken by a Dutch scholar of music who came to India in 1925 and studied in Santiniketan, went back in 29, came back again with a phonograph, this time to make recordings. He was a musician, he was a music scholar, he was a Sanskritist. He was also a very keen listener of music and later became an ethnomusicologist who taught at SOAS in London. His name was Arnold Bake. My doctoral research has been on his recordings that he made in Bengal. So this woman, she was from it's currently in Bangladesh, a place called Naga, which is in the Rajshahi region of sort of northwest Bangladesh now. Her name was Jora Khatun. So I didn't see this. I saw this image at this at the archives in Leiden, in the Netherlands, and I didn't know. There's no caption given that this is Jora Khatun, but because I had a list of names of singers whom Bake had recorded in Naga, and there was only one woman, and the rest were all men. So I assumed, I kind of knew that this must be Jora Khatun. So her name was written as Jora Khatun KP. And in the British Library archives, they didn't know what to say, so they didn't know what to make of the sound of her voice, so they wrote male singer. Okay, so male voice. And so they didn't quite understand that KP could not be male, but never mind that, So this was the image that I saw, and how do I go to? So
what's happening? Huh? Nine?
Now let's play that one.
Of course not.
Now, this is something very hard to listen to again. Now this is a wax cylinder recording, okay? And the noise you can hear the voice under layers of, sound. So this is something that it's a kind of acquired listening. You have to listen to it again and again, and you have to be really quite, addicted to this kind of work. Otherwise, it's not pleasurable listening, but it's great fun. It's like you're working as an archaeologist of sound. So you're digging through layers of noise in order to reach this voice. But this voice is not enough for me. I'm not interested in the making a musicological sort of analysis of this song. I want to know who Jora Khatun is. And I want to find her. So I need a face to match the voice. I have a face, but I need a place to take the face to. And so I go traveling, and I go for years and years and years. Over and over and over again to the same place I go, to Noga I go. I go once, I come back with almost nothing, then I go again, and again and again. And then there are all these, so she is, no, where was my other images? Is this an image?
Yes,
yes.
Sorry.
So she was part of this team, okay? So there were all these other beautiful photos, aren't there? So there were all these, so there was Mukunda Phokir, there was Boshiruddin, there was Moshiruddin, there were lots of, there were all these names. So, and there are songs that, and actually Jora was noticed by everybody. So Barker has written especially about her. But he hasn't said where she came from. And actually, the district officer, the ICS officer in Noga at the time was Annoda Shankar Rai, the poet and the literature, and he has also he remembered this voice. And Muhammad Mansuruddin, the song collector, he was also part of this team when they were making these recordings. He has also mentioned this woman. So everybody has talked about this special woman who came and she had a significant voice. So then all these people, and then finally, through a lot of search, I realized where she was from, where they were from, where all these fakirs were from. So this is a place called Doriapur, where I finally reached. And actually I found this man. Can you see my cursor? Yes, so this was Mukunda Phokir, and I found his grandson. So yeah, and Shamser Phokir, yeah. Okay, so there were also these. So there were all these fakirs, and then there was this one woman. And this was in February. All of them have shawls. Jora has just one thin sari that she's wearing. But then finally I find this place where, and when I reach, there are two places where I go. One is Doriapur, one is Shoilogachi, and when I go, and Kunujgram, all these three places, on the fifth trip, I think basically that I reached this place. And then they know all the men that I name. But when I said there was one Jora Khatun, do you know? They say we don't know who she was. Nobody knows who she was. So then, where do I go looking for Jora then? Who could Jora have been? Now, am I doing this work because I'm a woman? I don't know, You can answer that. But I look here, and I think, I call them all, who was Jora Khatun? So all my photos are captioned, who was Jora Khatun? So I go to Mohasthan God. I find in this shrine all these women, I find all these people. And And then I come to this woman, and I meet her name is Koburi. And she talks about, so Koburi, she tells me her story, and she says, my name is Koburi Dewan, and with a real husky voice, she says, so she says, and she doesn't want this photo to be taken. She says, my face is kind of swollen, I was singing all night, don't take this photo, she says, you know. It was a regular day for her. She had come home from an all-night concert. She was coming out of the bathroom in one corner of a rectangular courtyard, rubbing her wet hair with a gamcha. There were two printed saris hanging on the line, bright yellow and pink, I see as I write. I can see them as I write. I looked up and as I was entering, she looked up as I was entering through the gate. I looked at her. The courtyard, which is my field of recording, became the stage. We were about to act out an unwritten script. I would act as well as record. I apologized for being in her home, asked for permission to enter. I was performing the convention of field recording, but I was also performing the conventions of everyday life. You knock before you enter someone's home, or at least call out if the door is half open. Could I talk to you for a moment, please? I'm an outsider. She is a regular performer, so my presence does not scare her. She does not notice my recorder. It is small and inconspicuous, but she notices my phone when I take a photo. I've come here because many years ago someone had made some recordings of some fakirs. Perhaps some of them were from your village. There was a woman here, there was a woman too, her name was Jora Khatun. Perhaps someone here will know, someone old and who has seen other olden times. My name is Koburi Dewan, husband Abu Bakr Dewan. He died a few months ago. We used to sing together. My daughter died too. So here comes out the stories of grief, of loss, of separation, of pain. And I listen to her. And this is what draws me again and again and again to the road. These stories of songs of loss and love and pain. The two of us have been thrown into a most intimate conversation. Appa, she says, calls me sister. But how? How did she die? Fate. Fate, she says. Niyoti, she says. Bandhal dei, bandhal thakena. I build a band. The river comes crashing, she says. Suddenly, Koburi, the performer, is conscious of her looks after a night of work. You want to take a photo? My eyes are swollen. I was singing all night. You know, I'm very good. Shilpi Koburi Dewan. I know many VIP songs, she says. She actually says, VIP Ganjani Onik, she says. And no one can beat me at these Pallagan sessions. My opponent was rubbish. They paid me extra. Please delete the other photos, she says. So, and then the conversation goes on. So that was Koburi. So I look for her, and then I find these other girls. You know, each of these images, each of these faces, each of these names, I remember the names, I write them down. They all have their own stories. This little girl, she lost her child. Her name is Mariam. And somehow I keep looking at her eyes. You want to hear a bit of Koburi's voice? Yeah. No, but how? This one.
This.
Is it Koburi and people? She's the Koburi Dewan.
আমার স্বামীর নাম ছিল মোহাম্মদ আবু বকর দেওয়ান, আমার শ্বশুরের নাম ছিল রহিম চাচা। কেউ নেই। গানে আমার জীবন, গানে সংসার,
সংসার চালাতে
গানের উপর দিয়ে জীবন নির্ভর হয়ে গান গাই।
ছেলে মেয়ে কয়জন?
আমার একটা মেয়ে ছিল, মারা গেছে, এটা বড় জন আমার। আমার এক স্বামীর 2 বউ। আমি সদিন টদিন বলি না, ভালো লাগে না ওই কথাটা আমার। বোন বলি ছবি নিবেন, ওই এক জায়গায় আসছে তো মুখটা ঠোঙুড়ে হয়ে আছে।
পছন্দ হচ্ছে?
ওগুলো কাটে দিয়ে আগে তুললে ওগুলো কাটে দিয়ে আমাদের ফ্যামিলিটারই গানের জীবন। আর আমার স্বামীর নাম।
Okay, but this is quite long, so we will not. Can we go back to the thing? No, Chovina. Now, what do I want to show? Oh, I want to play this. I want to play this recording. But before that, I want to say something. Wait, let me just say this. So, the question is one of listening with feeling, I think. The question of feeling, the question of empathy is very important. The thing is that, you see, there are, when I say that, would I write this as a woman? Do I write this as a woman when I sing Doya Koro? But also when I sing a song like, say, Kichu Phelte Parina, I had a song, which is really a song about collecting, about not being able to throw away anything. And so many of my friends have said to me, you've sung exactly what we do. But this is not the male thing of actually being a collector, collector for the sake of being a collector. This is not the pride of collecting. It's not like, you collect a whole lot of gramophone records or stamps or, but it's something else. It's this whole thing that you can't throw away anything. And it's much more domestic, it's much more intimate, it's much more personal. So that is what this song is about. So it goes, Kichu phelte parina, Kichu phelte parina, purono trunke পড়ে থাকা ছেঁড়া মোজা জোড়া, ছেঁড়া সোয়েটার, কিছু ফেলতে পারি না, কিছু ফেলতে পারি না, তোষকের নিচে জমানো প্যাকেটস, all the the newspaper, the plastic and all the paper bags that you actually can't throw. I lost my pitch because of that phone. কিছু ফেলতে পারি না, তোষকের নিচে জমানো প্যাকেট, মরচে পড়েছে কোটোতে, তবু ফেলতে পারি না, so the rusty tin. কিছু ফেলতে পারি না, ছিঁড়ে যাওয়া জুতো, ভাঙা ডট পেন, চাঁদার রশিদ, কবেকার চিঠি ফেলতে পারি না. So all these little things, old letters, receipts, bills, the broken pen, everything that I can't throw away. কিছু ফেলতে পারি না, বইয়ের পাতায়, কিছু ফেলতে পারি না, ছিঁড়ে যাওয়া জুতো, ভাঙা ডট পেন, চাঁদার রশিদ, কবেকার চিঠি ফেলতে পারি না, কিছু ফেলতে পারি না. forget it. Mora boyer patay Mora projapati kurono jhinuk boyer patay lebu pata joda Mora projapati kurono jhinuk helte parina. We've all done this, like leaves, dry leaves inside our notebooks, and wings of butterflies, and broken shells, everything. And then the song ends, Kichu phelte parina, anache kanache, jume uthe dhulo, mathar bhetor, agacha gajaye, phelte parina, take phelte parina. So there was an article once in Anand Bake, I think, and this was all about, the songs of the 90s, singer-songwriters of the 90s, political songs of the 90s. So all the list was given. Of course, I was not on the list because this is not a political song. Such songs are not political. These things are not political matters. But as women and as humans, we should have a different way of looking at politics, I think. It's time we did. So I don't think, Rashtra mane katatare ghera shimanto, that's not the only political song that one can write. Mathar bhitor agacha gajaye, and then the whole question of collective, keeping, attachment, these little things, the details of life, why are they not political? I think that is what the woman artist actually brings into her work. And I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing, and the more men did it, the better world we were. I mean, we don't need to have a world without men. We just need men to have some feeling. I think it's a good thing to have. It's not something to shy away from. And it's not great to be macho, actually. It's rather embarrassing. As a mother of a son, I have a real soft thing for men, actually. So I know what it is for a young boy to grow up with feelings. It's a very hard thing. It's a very hard thing for boys to grow up expressing their feelings, to share their feelings, for a man to be able to cry. It's very hard, and I know, and it's as much a prison. So if you banish them to the prison, they're already imprisoned, actually. Women don't need to send, what Roka said, that, we send them indoors, but they're already in their prison if they can't express themselves. It is a kind of prison. And I think we're all in our prisons. And it's important that, we raise the prisons to the ground. I think it's much more important that we do that. So I'm going to slowly, end now, but I just wanted to tell you about one thing that I was in Germany this September, October, and I just think of the fact that, do we listen differently? The question of, do we listen differently? So there was, I listen differently. I certainly do. But it's not only because I'm a woman. It's also because of the life that I've lived, the way I've taught myself to listen, and we all can do it. We all can do it. So there was this sound, suddenly I was with a very mad friend of mine, her name is Devjani, she's like truly mad, and she got off at the wrong station, took me to the wrong place, and then finally we were supposed to go somewhere. We ended up somewhere else, and then we thought, okay, now let's go to Freiburg then, and let's go and see. It was Durga Puja time, so we thought let's go and see if there is any Durga Puja in Freiburg. So then we went there, and then it was raining, and in the rain, it was a Sunday, so Germany, you know, they're very, very strict about closing everything on Sundays. So everything was closed, and we were looking for a puja pandal. You know, and of course we were not finding it. It was so then we called. Devjani called her partner, and he is a German guy, and then he looked up many things and said, "Oh, you can go to ISKCON," and then we called ISKCON. So all kinds of things were happening. Meanwhile, in the distance, I heard something, and I heard this sound, and I started to follow the sound with my.
Projector.
Don't stand when no. Please continue. Please.
So,
Yeah, cholbe.
so I heard a sound in the distance, and now the fact that I heard it, I can tell you that everybody wouldn't hear it. So it's a question of you have to train just because we have a pair of ears doesn't mean that we know to listen, you know. It's something that we learn as well. So, and it's something that I've been doing for such a long time. It's like a smell. It's like a taste. And it's like a sense that you have, like like the farmer can say that whether it's going to rain or not, when you look at the sky, the color of the clouds. So it is that kind of acuteness. I'm not saying I have that already, but that is what I want to have. You know, so that is the kind of direction in which I'm going. I'm trying to go. So it's a certain sensitivity with which I try to listen. And I heard this, and when I said this to Devjani, look, there is a song there, and she said, where is the song? I said, then I started to walk, and I had my recorder on. So, where is my song, Maria? Can I play it?
No, right click call it.
VLC চলছে। Now, I'm fumbling with my recorder, okay? But listen, and you'll hear her. It's beautiful actually, and so can I play the video? So this triggers something in me. She's a Roma, of course, but she says she's from... I've taken this song to many people. We've not been able to identify the language. She said she's from Bulgaria. She doesn't speak any German. She's sitting there singing. She says, I'm singing, her name is Maria. She says she has 5 children. And so this is a song to Jesu, she says. And so then I sang a little bit. I said, your song is very beautiful. And I said, da 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 da. And she said, beautiful voice, she said. and then so this was the beginning. In those few days that I was in Germany, I kept picking more and more sounds of people who come from other places but come with their songs and different voices. So I could do a whole session on those voices one day, because there was a young... And I kept taking Maria's voice to all these people. So the next time in Constance, I met a very young, very accomplished accordion player, and I took Maria's song to him, and I said, do you know what language this is? And he said, no, I don't, And he really was not interested. He's much more, he was far too busy, to listen to my nonsense. So he kept playing his own thing. And then found another old man sitting, and he was playing the melodica, and he was sitting under an underpass. He was sitting there, and he looked like more of a fringe person. And after playing, the little bit of money that he'd collect, he'd probably go and, smoke up or whatever. And so he looked like that, and a few people had gathered around him. And so that was near the railway station in Constance. Then on the last day when I was coming back from through Strasbourg, I was coming back to London. So I met another person. And this person was playing, again he was playing the accordion, standing on the bridge, and he said that this is probably a Roma gypsy, and said that, but I don't know the language. So here is Maria, who sang in a language that I've sent it to my various friends, across Europe to find, what language this might be. And I don't know what it is, so I don't know the language that Maria was singing. But this is becomes like the Jora story, because I must know. And so I'll keep following this voice, I'll keep doing this. And this is the kind of thing that drives me. And I suppose what is attached to this? Because there are stories of displacement and emplacing the voice. Emplacing the voice within a language, within a culture, within a home. That is the kind of thing that I really feel very drawn to doing. So these displaced voices, just as you want to find a face for a voice and a place for a face, similarly you want to find a language for a song. And that's the kind of thing that drives me. Am I doing this as a woman? Yes, I am. But I think many of us can do the same thing. Thank you. अरे गेले कलकत्ता पिया करके नुकरिया नुकरिया तो कर रहीले काहे कर ले सदिया दरदिया 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 अमरूठी लाई राजा जी दरदिया. So when she sings like that, I mean, I could sing it all through my life. Context, yeah. So context, yeah. So and then so I had basically said, okay, what is the context of a song? You know, everything is the context of the song. That's what I had said. You know, how can you see the context as being different from, you know, where the song? I mean, some things are the content, some things are the context, but actually the content and the context are actually connected. They create one. আমি শুনেছি সেদিন তুমি সাগরের ঢেউয়ে চেপে নীল জল দিগন্ত ছুঁয়ে এসেছো. আমি শুনেছি সেদিন তুমি নোনা বালি তীর ধরে বহুদূর বহুদূর হেঁটে এসেছো. আমি কখনো যাইনি জলে, কখনো ভাসিনি নীলে, কখনো রাখিনি চোখ ডানা মেলা গান চিলে. আবার যেদিন তুমি সমুদ্র স্নানে যাবে আমাকেও সাথে নিও, নেবে তো আমায় বলো, নেবে তো আমায়. আমি শুনেছি সেদিন নাকি তুমি 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 মিলে তোমরা সদল বলে সভা করেছিলে. আর সেদিন তোমরা নাকি অনেক জটিল ধাঁধা না বলা অনেক কথা কথা তুলেছিলে. কেন শুধু ছুটে ছুটে চলা, একই একই কথা বলা, নিজের জন্যে বাঁচা, নিজেকে নিয়ে. যদি ভালোবাসা নাই থাকে, শুধু একা একা লাগে, কোথায় শান্তি পাবো, কোথায় গিয়ে বলো, কোথায় গিয়ে. আমি শুনেছি তোমরা নাকি এখনো স্বপ্ন দেখো, এখনো গল্প লেখো, গান গাও প্রাণ ভরে, মানুষের বাঁচা মরা এখনো ভাবিয়ে তোলে. তোমাদের ভালোবাসা এখনো গোলাপে ফোটে. আস্থা হারানোই মন নিয়ে আমি আজ তোমাদের কাছে এসে দুহাত পেতেছি. আমি দু চোখের গহ্বরে শূন্যতা দেখি শুধু, রাত ঘুমে আমি কোনো স্বপ্ন দেখি না, তাই স্বপ্ন দেখবো বলে আমি দু চোখ পেতেছি. তাই তোমাদের কাছে এসে আমি দুহাত পেতেছি, তাই স্বপ্ন দেখবো বলে আমি দু চোখ পেতেছি, হায়